Forward. If God, the creator of the universe, created us on purpose, with a purpose, and for a purpose, then why in the world would we be willing to settle for anything less? That's a really good question. And that's only one of many good questions you'll be forced to wrestle to the ground in this insightful, entertaining, and practical book by my good friend Perry Noble. The truth is, Unleash should come with a warning label. If it did, it would read something like this. Warning. Every excuse you have for not doing something extraordinary with your life is about to be taken away. Perry peels away excuses more quickly than a 4-year-old peels off a scab. Yeah, I know, that's a bit graphic. But if you know anything about the author of this book, then you know I'm just getting you warmed up for the main event. Perry and I have been friends for years. In addition to our mutual love for all things Southern, we are joined at the vision. Within a year of each other, God birthed in our hearts the desire to create a church for unchurched people. Like Atlanta, Anderson, South Carolina didn't need just another church. Anderson needed a different kind of church. So in 1999, Perry and his wife, Lucretia, stepped out of their comfort zones and founded New Spring Church. Under Perry's leadership, New Spring has become not only one of the fastest growing churches in the country, but also one of the fastest reproducing churches in the country. If every church leader had a vision for his or her state like Perry does for South Carolina, our nation would be better in every respect. Knowing Perry the way I do, I'm convinced that the term unleash accurately captures the heartbeat and intensity of his life and ministry. Through his disarming transparency and authenticity, Perry has helped to unleash the potential in thousands of people. His unique communication style has captured the imagination of a generation that had given up on church but still longed for purpose. And now, with the publication of his first book, his influence is about to be unleashed to an even broader audience. Perry writes, God has a habit of taking average, ordinary people and using them to accomplish extraordinary things. While I doubt anyone who knows Perry would consider him average or ordinary, there is no arguing that what God has done through Perry is extraordinary. More important, when you are finished with this book, you'll be convinced God can do something extraordinary through you as well. I have no doubt you'll love this book, but I'm equally convinced that you won't be too far into it before you discover why so many of us love Perry Noble. So get yourself a highlighter, then put on your big boy pants. You're about to be unleashed. Andy Stanley. Introduction. There's got to be more to life than this. My mother-in-law has a really awesome red Mustang. A few years ago, I borrowed her car for the day when my family and I were visiting my in-laws over the Thanksgiving holidays. I drove the Mustang around for several hours and generally had a blast in it. I ran a few errands, stopped to see some friends, and grabbed a cup of Java at a local coffee shop. Of course, since I typically drive an SUV and am used to riding up a little higher, it took some time to adjust to being so low to the ground. I had to move the seats because I am way taller than my mother-in-law. I played with the radio and found a few stations I liked. I tinkered with the mirrors so I could see behind me. By the end of the day, I had come to the conclusion that the car was pretty nice. It got me to where I needed to go, and I had zero complaints. In fact, I'd really enjoyed cruising around in it. Then, on my way back to my in-laws' house, I had a thought. This is a Mustang. I wonder if it has any power under the hood. Let me pause here and say, I have no idea why it took so long for this thought to develop. After all, it was a Mustang. I guess I'd been driving a sluggish vehicle for so long that the idea of blazing a trail didn't even cross my mind. With a question like that sitting out there, I obviously had no choice but to stomp on the gas and find out. Before I knew it, the car was sliding sideways and the tires were screaming for mercy. The Mustang had been unleashed. Had I not let off the gas, I would have lost control completely. I drove the rest of the way back in stunned silence, which, if you know me, is pretty amazing. I had no idea the car had so much power, the kind of power that could make me nearly mess my pants. I'd been riding around in the vehicle all day, adjusting little things here and there, yet I never took the time to discover whether the car had the ability to leave a few marks on the road. As I pulled into the driveway of my in-laws' house, I thought, if I had known this car had that kind of power, I would have driven it a lot differently today, and I would have had a lot more fun while I was at it. Unfortunately, a lot of us look at our lives the way I treated that Mustang. As human beings created in the image of God, we are overflowing with unlimited potential, fueled by His limitless power. Yet we choose to cruise through life tinkering with the radio and the mirrors, never discovering who God has called us to be. In other words, we never live a life that is truly unleashed. 2,000 years ago, Jesus was raised from the dead, proving what He said in John 16:33, that this world has no power over Him. The world gave its best shot at holding Him down, but 3 days later He was unleashed from the power of the grave. One of the most fascinating and hard to believe things about Christianity is that Jesus lives in us. If the resurrected Son of God lives inside us, that means we too can be unleashed from everything that threatens to hold us back from who God wants us to be. Jesus has made it possible for us to live an unleashed life. Whether we realize it or not, Jesus made the first move. Now He is waiting on us to make the next one. Just as I'd been oblivious to the Mustang's power for most of the day, most of us don't even consider living a life that is unleashed. Instead, we settle for average, routine, predictable. But the Bible describes the life of a Christ follower as anything but boring. God doesn't want us to live mediocre, mundane lives. If that's the case, then why do so many of us wake up in the morning fully expecting nothing more than normal? I'm here to tell you that it's completely possible to live a life beyond normal. It's completely possible to live with purpose rather than stumble through our days trying to figure out, why in the world am I here? It's completely possible to live a life marked by freedom and passion rather than one filled with regret and shame. It's completely possible to live in right relationships with other people rather than let unforgiveness hold us hostage. It's completely possible for the tragedies in our lives to make us stronger rather than cripple us. It's completely possible to end strong at the finish line rather than limp along in defeat. It's completely possible to move beyond normalcy and embrace the abundant life God has for us. So what are you waiting for? It's time to live a life that is unleashed.